So you may be aware of this. Joe Biden's son, Hunter, has been in the news a lot this week. The Trump campaign's been very excited about this. It came up in last night's debate as well. Let's take a listen.
With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had, the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nope.
Team Rising is here to talk about weather and how that story matters. Joining us now is host of The Smart Folks with Don Calloway, CEO of Pine Street Strategies and Democratic strategist Don Calloway, and Capitol Hill reporter with the Daily Caller, Henry Rogers. Welcome back, guys. It's great to see you.
Great to see you guys.
Thanks. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it certainly has. Unfortunately, I wish we had you back sooner. Don, let me start with you on that Hunter story. Now, look, it's just a verifiable fact that Hunter has actually made millions of dollars in China. That is a fact admitted by Hunter himself. Why is the Biden campaign taking the tactic of just outright denying the story and going with the false, theory of Russian misinformation, also not true as far as we know from the director of national intelligence, instead of just saying, yeah, he made a mistake, I never had any transactions with it, which, as far as we know, is completely true. Why is he playing into basically the worst caricature of this story?
Well, let's be clear. Joe Biden and Hunter Biden has never been a publicly elected figure, and Joe Biden has not been one for at least 8 years now. So Hunter Biden was free to make money all across the globe. The question is whether or not it has anything to do with whether or not Joe Biden is qualified to be elected president, and whether or not Donald Trump deserves re-election to this office. It is clear that he does not deserve re-election to this office. Burisma is not a new word. We've been aware of this at least 2 years now. So why is it suddenly an issue in the last 3 weeks? My concern, Sagar, with the whole Hunter Biden saga here is the one thing you didn't bring up, which is the potentially salacious nature of this laptop. So why is that a concern with 2 weeks to go before an election? And it's clearly something that has nothing, even if it is true, which I don't know and I don't care, but even if it is true, it has absolutely nothing to do with the nature of this election and Joe Biden's candidacy. And the last thing I would suggest is that for legitimate Republicans like a Ron Johnson or a Donald Trump Sr. to try to tie this thing to the worst elements of human nature and connect that to the Biden campaign is really a new low in politics.
So let me just press you on that. There's no question that Hunter is free to do whatever he wants. The question is whether he should, right? I mean, the appearance of corruption is also part of the problem there, isn't it?
It's not a question of whether or not Hunter should. It's a question of whether or not Joe Biden was involved. Okay, I have no idea where Donald Trump's kids make their money. The question is about Joe Biden here, and is he fit and competent and qualified to be president?
Well, and let me actually just, and I do want to get Henry in here as well for his view, but Don, one thing on that, and this is why, look, I agree with you in a lot of ways. Obviously, this is last minute, sort of desperate oppo dump, something campaigns, frankly, do all the time with super sketchy origins, et cetera. The Biden campaign hasn't denied that these emails that were on the laptop are real. To me, the one thing that is relevant, and I don't think that it's a game-changing political issue whatsoever, is Joe Biden said very explicitly, I had nothing to do with Hunter Biden's business dealings. And if you look at some of these emails, it looks like that wasn't the case. Is it illegal? No, it's not illegal. It's very typical sort of standard issue Washington corruption. We all know Hunter Biden wasn't sitting on this board because of his qualifications. It's because of his famous last name. That, to me, is like the sort of most significant real piece to come out of this. I wonder how you see that.
Does it disqualify Joe Biden from being president? The answer is no.
But a lot of things can be relevant without being disqualified.
And I think that's a fair position. I think, Henry, let's maybe bring you in there. I think it's right. I think it's a perfectly defensible position to be like, yeah, Biden and Hunter engage in some not great stuff, but I want XYZ policy to happen, and Trump is also corrupt as hell because of the Trump Hotel and his sons and all that stuff, so I'm voting for Joe. But that's not the position that you're taking, are they, Henry?
No, it's not, and that's why I completely agree with both you and Crystal, Sagar. It's just the point that he could just go about this and say, listen, yes, I was vice president. Yes, my son got this awesome job, made a lot of money off of it, but that's not going to happen when I'm president of the United States. That would be a lot easier than just denying, and flat out saying all this is fake. It's Russian information, which has been debunked, and all of those other false claims. I think, obviously, the election should focus on Joe Biden and Joe Biden himself. Hunter Biden is not running for president. But when we flip the script here, what would happen if Trump Jr. was in this position? Okay,
right.
Seriously,
yeah.
Trump Jr. would
I
be
think that's a fair.
And it would be It would be in every single paper. The NPR would be actually covering it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
That's an important distinction.
Go ahead, Don. Didn't hear that.
Hunter is the president's son, right? I just thought that was an important distinction that should be made. Hunter Biden is,
Hunter Biden made his money under.
Yeah, he did make millions of dollars as vice president's son.
Henry, let me push you on the politics of this, right? The Trump people are very excited about this laptop. He keeps talking about it. He was super excited to go into all these details. I mean, we followed this story here, and some of the stuff that President Trump was saying on stage last night, I couldn't follow the thread of what the allegation.
Unless you watch Fox.
I need Sagar to do the decoder for me.
I'll be like, well, what he meant was this, and the Hatch Act.
And this is John's point. Is this what they should be spending their final days? We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
Hundreds of thousands of lives have been lost. The economy is in tatters. Look, maybe in another universe, people would have cared about this story. Do I think it moves one single person who wasn't already in Donald Trump's camp? No, I do not.
Yeah, Crystal, I mean, talking to voters, no one gives a damn about this story, to be completely honest with you. No one can even understand the story who's not in the media or who doesn't focus on politics through their entire life. As Governor Mike Huckabee said, and some other people have said, and advised Trump on, I think we honestly, the Trump campaign should honestly be focusing on, stimulus bills and the coronavirus and things that actually matter in this world, not Hunter Biden. But, here we are. This is what they want to focus on, and this is what we have to deal with. So if this is what they want to deal with, the media needs to cover it. It's real. It's not Russian misinformation. It's real. And, for people to just completely not want to cover it, I think is completely insane.
I think that's right. I think both the Trump campaign and the media are making big mistakes here. All right, guys, we're going to have more of our panel right after this. Stick with us.